I'd hardly make it halfway across the blood-splattered room before the king merely vanished in only a matter of seconds. I whirled, sensing his power still overwhelming everything within the room itself. Everything, except for the raging silence that took over my head, my soul. Let's not get hasty, my dear. His voice sounded from behind me. I gritted my teeth, preparing my attack. As futile as it was, I turned around, palming my knives. I could only pause once more as I beheld what he was in front of me. With Akaza kneeled at his side, bowing to his superior, the wielder of his fate. His eyes remained fixated upon the floor upon him, his muscular utterance strained. The Demon King smiled, such a soft movement of his lips, so casual compared to the burning rage I felt. But that fire only flickered when I beheld Akaza, Muzan's hand held above him, as though his upper moon was merely a puppet, and the king gripped his strings unworldly. And fear, a wave of fear settled in that fire. Fear for no one but the demon who I'd cared about more than anyone. Even Kimiko. You two have grown awfully close. Muzan mused, his voice sounding as though it belonged to a different world entirely. I must admit it was not part of my original plan. A single smirk. In the end, however, it seemed to have proved quite useful. I was frozen, my eyes going straight for Akaza again, begging him to look at me. Look at me. But he did nothing of the sorts. He had gone so utterly still in a way that reminded me of his immortality. Why? I breathed out. Why, indeed? I couldn't comprehend it. Why the Demon King had bothered with me, with my family. His smile only grew, his hands twisting ever so slightly, and my eyes shot to Akaza, finding his breath hitch just the slightest bit, as if Akaza's strings had been held griply by Muzan's hand. I wonder, he droned, watching his upper moon 3. How is it possible for Akaza to have worked around my orders to him, to keep you hidden from me, even as a demon himself, a demon who has hunted after strength for all these years? I swallowed, fighting the shaking of my hands. Fear meant death. Fear meant you would get killed. I steadied myself, bringing up a steer at him. Tell me, I demanded, forcing himself to meet his glowing red eyes. Tell me what the hell you want with me. He cocked his head, observing me, his heavy breathing, his eyes bright with anger, their body sensing the room with death. It took all my efforts to ignore it, to push it past the hopelessness, surely making its way to devour me. So special, the Lin family. Such an interesting mix of blood. What mix? I spat. He ignored me. I only found out about it recently. All these years, and I've never known. I glanced towards Akaza again. He hadn't moved an inch, though every part of him was strained, even if it hurt. I squared my shoulders, taking in a shuddering breath. I wouldn't allow anyone else to take from me. No one else. And if Akaza was all I had left as of now, I would do anything it took, fight tooth and nail for him, until everything I owned was for him. But seeing you for the first time, a sinister glint in the king's eyes brought me back to whatever nonsense he was spilling. I knew what your mother had told me was true. Something in the world shifted as the words were registering my mind. I backed away a single step. What did you say? Before Muzan could respond, a familiar voice drawled from the doorway to my sister's chambers, a voice that never failed to fill my veins with ice. But when I heard my mother speak, there was something different about it, something foreign. It is truly a wonder that you've managed to handle my daughter so well, master. I turned, ever so slowly, towards the doorframe, to find my mother strolling forward, a wicked gleam in her eyes. Eyes that glowed with predator ease, one that I've seen only in Akaza and his comrades, and in the Demon King himself. Aghast at my mother strolled right up to Butsuji's side. A wicked grin flashed in my direction. a look that made my knees tremble. My mother was now a demon. I was fully under the grasp of a red-eyed demon. Akaza had no reaction, even as my eyes stared at him once more, as if on instinct. By this time, he was not there to meet my gaze. His golden eyes did not lift to meet my own. As if I looked to my mother once more, her eyes devoid of anything human. The realization stuck. You did this. I seized at her, gripping my knife and daring to step forward, only to be halted by a shudder of my demon, still kneeling. Muzan hummed in amusement, twisting his hand once more, another shudder making its way to Akaza's body. He choked, the sound coating in his throat. I would think very carefully about what you decide to do next. A threat. Hurting Akaza. I widened, staring at the Demon King. He is your upper moon 3. You wouldn't dare. Oh, wouldn't I? Akaza's chest began heaving violently, as if holding in unbearable pain. Stop it, I said, unable to fight the panic. I would not allow Akaza to be taken away from me. Muzan ignored me. My mother only watched in amusement as Akaza twisted, his body almost contorting with pain. Stop it! The grip was released, Akaza's breathing forcing its way out in short, wet gasps, and then there was blood, the blood dripping from the corners of his mouth. How interrogating to find that even faced with his own death, he still wishes to protect you. I couldn't breathe, couldn't figure out what to do. For no one and nothing would save us from this. It was the end, and if Akaza were to die, there would be no point in existing any longer. Without Kimiko, without him, there was no one left. A crack began to carve its way into my chest, so loud I was surprised the demons in the room couldn't hear it. My mother, a demon, even if she practically had been one before. Nothing. There was nothing left. Mian, dear, don't look so put out. My mother cooed, a hand on her hip, lips upturned into a vicious smile. My gaze snapped to her, yet it was so hard, so very hard to muster up the rage, when all that filled me now was hopelessness. Why? I ground it out. The room was silent, if only for a moment. But it was not my mother who answered, but Muzan. Demons were never made to love, he began, his gaze darkening. Made was all demons were created by him. They were made to rule the earth, to seize control and destroy each and every one of you humans. A pause, and Akaza himself tense. Though when it came to your father, even my own heart stopped at the mention of him, of that man. That your father had been made differently, as if even the curse of becoming what most believed to be monsters was not enough to rally against the purity of his heart. I stared at him. A rare case for one to submit to the mortality that clung to them. A rare case indeed. The Demon King went on, sighing as if this were a smear of small talk over a cup of tea, and how he had run from me, fought me at every breath and turn. My father turned demon, only to demand in his soul that he did not accept. I had never known my father. He'd never cared to. I slid my gaze to my mother, to find her that she had the same venomous smile. Everything shifted. The entire angle of my words shifted. You turned my father into a demon? I said to Muzan, to my mother. A lover's laugh filled the air, blood sparkling with rage. The Demon King nodded. Unfortunately, his strength of will was quite extraordinary, enough of it to beat my own power over him. He sighed, his red eyes flashing in annoyance. Though I must admit, I never given much thought on the matter, until I escaped, broke free from the curse. Akaza's body went slack, as if he had lost his balance entirely. If the Demon King hadn't been gripping onto his soul, his every movement, as if he knew struck nothing deep within him. My father. Still a demon, of course, but there is no undoing that. He found a way to free himself, to live as he would. And so, that's when your father met me, my mother said, no emotion written upon her face. The world was slipping from under me. And he fell in love. Oh, it was so no surprise to me about what he was. One glance at him, and it was all it had for me to know that part of him was not entirely human. My mother's voice held nothing, no hint of truth or lie, or whether she felt anything of the matter. You did not love him back. My words held no question, simply a demand. She chuckled, her immortal eyes glowing even brighter. I would never have loved someone so hideous. I cringed and kneeled on the ground before us. I could have sworn Akaza had flinched as well. But his power, a devilish sort of gleam filled in her features. Power that had always been my mother's goal from the very start. His power was something not to be ignored. She paused, as if relishing in joy of her next words. I thought it would be useful to have such strength bred into the family. My heart fell directly into my stomach. All I could do was stare as the entire lie I had been fed from the moment I was born became free of its hold. The truth was like a hole ripping into the middle of my room, of my heart, endless and empty, dragging it out slowly. And then you three came, my mother said, and she had the nerve to digest the room with a casual wave of her hand to the bodies that laid because of her, and what she had used my father for, my demon father, who had fallen in love, the way Akaza had said to me. Something snapped, indefinitely, as the words stifled in, and in that moment I did not care. I did not care what I would perhaps never leave this room, because all I could see was the rage, the red-hot line of fire that blazed along my skin, as if a new sort of power awakened. I will kill you, I seethed and drew myself towards that lying bitch of a mother.